World of Warcraft looks like a Game of Thrones family tree. And the reason for that is simple. Classic player base is beyond divided and is very likely only to get more divided as the future keeps on progressing. Because once upon a time, it was just World of Warcraft. What did you play? What do you play? World of Warcraft. Then it became Retail WoW and Classic WoW. And now it looks fucking inbred. So welcome to Classic WoW, where the player base is spread across so many different game modes that it's a massive surprise that most of the game modes even have as much players as they really do at this current moment. So as I said, with Classic, we're essentially balkanized. And you gotta explain to people, and you can't just say, yeah, I play Classic, because then you'll have era players come up and be like, oi, mate, don't you dare fucking compare me to those sod scumbags. I am a vanilla era player. I am better than you. And you're like, okay, buddy. All right, calm down. I get it. We cosplay retail. I understand. But nonetheless, I'm going to break down every single type of Classic player and what that future really ends up looking like in the coming years when we get fresh, hardcore fresh, TBC era, Wrath era, MOP Classic, and who knows what else. So off the bat, we have the Classic purists, the Classic Andes. They're probably the loudest of the player base, the loudest minority, and these people don't want any changes, not a singular change. In fact, I know Classic Andes who hate the Chrono Boon, despite how many people love that addition. They want misery in maximized capacity. They want Blizzard to release the game and then not even look at it. Don't even glance in this direction. Release it fresh every 18 months and fuck right off. That's all they want from Blizzard. So I talked about the classicest of Andes, the purists, right? And then you have the regular Classic Andes, and these people want some changes. They want the Chrono Boon, the Might of Stormrend. They want the PvP honor changes to be as it is, where there's no decay. Because, you know, they have a life, they have a job, but they like Classic as it is. They just don't want to have to grind 18 hours a day of PvP to get Grand Marshal. They want very few changes. Very minimal, but they do want some changes. But that's it. They want the game to be as close to the original as possible, but just a little bit of seasoning called quality of life sprinkled over their favorite meal. So then you move on from the Classic and the Classic purist to the hardcore player. And these people want the opposite of quality of life. They want that shit to be slow, grueling, miserable. Because it's the closest vibe you can get that is as close to vanilla 2004. They love the vibe and feeling of the world. I feel like the world is the main character and you are a person journeying through it. But despite how dedicated this player base is, the hardcore player base is honestly very, very small in comparison to every other game mode. Now, only things and events like that do make the player base climb and skyrocket for a bit, but when the creators leave, the very small player base remains at the end of the day. So now we have the Season of Discovery boys. And these guys, they want the changes. They want the smoke. They want to finish, in the quotation marks, the vanilla experience, but with a lot of changes. They love how the classes feel, the interactivity of it, the smoothness of it. We're not going to talk about PvP, because PvP is not balanced in any version of World of Warcraft. Honestly, the devs, the World of Warcraft, the Blizzard devs in general, they don't really know how to fucking balance the game. And PvP is always kind of shitty. Now, there have been certain phases and expansions of PvP has been great. Classic is not one of them. And like I said, especially in Season of Discovery, because what the fuck is Season of Discovery's PvP? I am, like, Shamans, Paladins, Boomkins in Phase 1. Every phase has like a different level of cancer. But it doesn't matter. And Season of Discovery enjoys, they're having a good time. It's a great experience. There's nothing really wrong with it. I mean, it depends on who you ask, because if you ask a certain subset of the player base, they're gonna condemn you, call you slurs essentially for enjoying Season of Discovery. How dare you? Retail's ruining Classic. You know, you're ruining my favorite. And then the other portion, like I said, just they love Season of Discovery. They like the change to the class. Just the game feels good to them. And like I said, there is some basis to the controversy around Season of Discovery. It does feel like retail minus to a degree, but it's still a good game mode. But then we now have the Cataclysm Classic and the soon-to-be MOP Classic players. That is a debate in of itself whether those game modes are even considered classic, because to a lot of people, vanilla is classic. To some, the original trilogy is classic. And you know, these players are what I call progression enjoyers, because they're enjoying going from vanilla to MOP to WoD, Legion, all the way to like Shadowlands and Dragonflight and the war within like 10 years. So that's the direction they're going. And that's really the problem with the classic progression enjoyers, is that the player base is kind of split on what version of the game they like the most. Some people only want TBC, they like Wrath, some like Mr. Pandaria, some hate that and only want WoD, some want to do Legion again, and some are just going to play every expansion all the way to, like I said, the war within. And talking about TBC and Wrath enjoyers, I want to touch upon them just a tiny little bit. These two people, these players, are begging for official servers because they're tired of playing on private servers. They don't want to play on some random ass private server where you can buy your legendary or you can do things like that. They want to play on official servers with era and like progressing fresh. Which brings me back to the whole point of this video, how inbred that player tree is of how many game modes we have. SOD, Classic Era, Hardcore, and Progression. Or in this case, Cataclysm Classic. So right now, the SOD player base split into 4. I want to say like 80% of the player base plays SOD or Cataclysm. Then you have 20% split between Era and Hardcore. And a lot of these games are getting updates soon. Season Discovery is going to Phase 6, which is AQ40 or AQ20 and 10 now. There's going to be some extra things, some new world bosses, this shit of that nature, right? It's going to be some nice updates. Some people will come back, but it's doing solid. It's a good time. And then eventually Classic Plus in the distant future. Classic Era is getting fresh at some point, and that's going to be cool. That's going to bring a lot of people that quit who only really enjoy vanilla but don't want to play on the GDKP infested, everyone having 10 billion gold Era servers, because people want to play Classic, just not on the Era servers. And then Hardcore will get a fresh at some point, a seasonal fresh every 6-12 months, whatever they do, some affixes, who fucking knows, right? And then like I said earlier, Cataclysm becomes MOP Classic. And that doesn't even account for TBC and Wrath getting Era servers, which they will at some point in the future. The devs have talked about it, they've teased it a bit. I don't know how far into the works that is, but that shit is coming at some point soon as well. And then we're assuming there is no progression server happens that just keeps repeating vanilla TBC Wrath over and over again, because the devs again have kind of talked about that to a little degree, and that they haven't forgotten these people and they will come back to that. And it's just a break glass in case of emergency situation where they just keep repeating that for free cash money. And thus, the player base, beyond fucking divided. And you should be able to play your favorite version of the game. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, you're playing the wrong version. How dare you have fun? Video games are about having fun, enjoying yourself, playing the game you want. But it begs the questions of resources and priorities. Which game should be the priority? Which game should be the baby darling of the Classic dev team? Because it's not a very big dev team, and yeah, Classic Plus in the future will be the priority when they get to that point. But a lot of these current game modes and upcoming game modes don't really require a lot of dev time and energy, I would think. You would think the same thing of Cataclysm Classic, but that required a lot of energy from the devs to get to work. So clearly there's something wrong with the back-end engineering of things that is making these servers have problems. So, like I opened this video up with, if you play retail, you're just a retail player. Sure, you might play Plunderstorm here, you might play this there, but your pronouns are retail player. As a Classic player, we've got pronouns. I am a SOD Era enjoyer. I'm a Hardcore Fresh enjoyer. I'm a this, that enjoyer. I can't wait for 2035 where my pronouns are TBC Hardcore / Classic Plus enjoyer. Like, what the fuck is happening? But again, this isn't a problem. People, I said this just before as well, you should be able to enjoy what you want to play. You should be able to play what you want to play. But without even a shred of hesitation, I would delete and cancel every other version of Classic. Literally, honestly controversial, unsubscribe, I get it. This is a very strong statement. I would delete every other version of Classic just to get Classic Plus as the only official game mode. I would be Thanos. I would snap my fingers. I would throw the player base off the cliff. Whatever I need to do to get Classic Plus. And that is, again, my personal opinion. I get it. I get it. Evan, that's selfish of you. I'm not gonna lie. Classic Plus is just a better decision than everything else. I'm just saying what I'm saying. But then it does bring us on to Classic Plus. And this is a very, very broad spectrum of players. It's honestly kind of unfair to call everybody Classic Plus fans, because if you ask 10 people what Classic Plus is, you're getting probably 8 different answers. Even 10 different answers depending on what 10 people you're asking. But the core crux of it is, despite everybody's version of Classic Plus being different, everybody has the same mentality, and that is vanilla but finished. Now, that finished is where the problem is of what does the finished vanilla world look like. But that is the essential concept of a Classic Plus. Now, essentially everybody agrees on new dungeons, new zones, finishing places like Hyjal, Grimbatol, adding in those raids and dungeons, right? No one's really doubting that for Classic Plus. But when it comes to class design, or world feeling and events and things of that nature, that's where the purity versus the finishing crowd clash. Honestly, this video was very rambly. The whole point is kind of lost, but the essential summary I have is the classic player base is divided because no matter what you do, you cannot make them happy. Even if Classic was to get announced and released, the player base would still be fucking upset because they would latch on to one segment of what the devs announced and say, this is dog shit, this is bad, this is terrible, how dare you, terrible devs, fire them, do this and do that. And don't get me wrong, the devs are not immune to criticism. They've made a lot of mistakes. But for example, the Discovery, up until Phase 3, was beloved. And then the moment they smelled the blood on the water of Phase 3 being absolute dog shit, Season Discovery still has not recovered that vibe and love that it had initially. The devs don't even release trailers anymore. They don't release hype trailers, player numbers, things of that nature, because the player base is hella negative. At times, not always, but mostly. I do hope that when they do make Classic Plus, and they will, they've said as much, it's coming in the future, the player base unites, kumbaya, and we all have an amazing time, and that Classic Plus is a great experience. And that the whole player base coalesces into playing Classic Plus. That's where hundreds of thousands, millions of people are playing and enjoying themselves, and it gets the most resources and everything it needs. And the player base reunifies. But being honest, that's not gonna fucking happen. We're gonna stay balkanized, we're gonna have mini civil wars, hate threads, you know, Sod killed my game mode, TBC era killed my vanilla era server, I hate Wrath, where's my Cataclysm era server? Like, it's gonna be coming. That's the future, chat. That's the future, everybody. Why did I say chat? This isn't even a live video. But nonetheless, let me know what you think in the comments down below. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike this video and dislike every other video on my channel, but still hit that subscribe button first. So thank you all for watching. Ebenhard out. Peace.